Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Mitchell Ringos. It's official. Bonnie Crombie has been declared the new leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. The Mississauga mayor and former Liberal MP won after 3 rounds of ballots, defeating Nate Erskine-Smith, Yazir Naqvi, and Ted Hsu with 53.4% of the vote. More than 100,000 party members were eligible to cast ballots last weekend, and during today's count, the Liberal Party announced that over 22,000 participated, which is nearly double from the 2020 race. Crombie has boasted that she is Premier Doug Ford's toughest competition and said in her winning speech that there is no question being an Ontario Liberal is back. An annual holiday tradition made its stop in Thunder Bay last night. The Canadian Pacific Holiday Train came into town, bringing the holiday spirit and raising awareness for local food banks. The event was free to attend, with everyone encouraged to open their cupboards and wallets to help the hunger needs in the community. Local food banks were also accepting donations to ensure that those who may not have food for the holidays get enough to sustain them. The train itself came decked out with its hundreds of thousands of LED lights along its 14 rail cars. Spectators also got to see some live performances from the boxcars.
The CP Holiday Train team do a fantastic job going across Canada, and we always look forward to it. You know, you got world-class music, you got incredible decorations on the train. People are so excited to see that train coming, and for us, there is a monetary donation that CP is always generous with, but then it's also the food that comes in. We get a couple of tons of food every year.
The train continues on its way west, with the next stop in Ignace today. Speaking of Christmas lights, people will be decorating inside and outside their homes as the holidays approach. It's the time of year when the number of electrical fires increases, and experts are offering some tips on preventing them. Corey Nordstrom has more.
'Tis the season, with bright lights being a big part of Christmas decorations. While festive and fun, they can also present many dangers, according to the Sault Ste. Marie Fire Services. They say people should keep a few things in mind.
Artificial trees, if they come pre-lit, make sure that you are checking the lights on them, the light strands when you plug them in, testing them. Make sure that everything is UL and ULC certified, so CSA use in Canada. You can't go to the States and buy things in the States and then use it in Canada if it's not certified for use in Canada.
A survey by the Electrical Safety Authority shows that about half of Ontarians plan on decorating for the holidays, but almost 2/3 of respondents admit to not checking for certification when they last purchased electrical decor. The ESA also offers some tips. They include buying decor with recognized Canadian certifications, making sure decorations are used in the proper locations with cords out of dangerous areas like walkways, and to turn off holiday lights when you're away.
If they say you can only have 18 strands of lights plugged in, do not plug in more than that because it could overheat. If you're using power bars or anything like that, make sure you're not overloading them. Follow the recommendations on those as well. And just make sure that you're not putting combustibles too close to these lights.
Another danger, now that the cold weather is here, is the use of fireplaces and chimney fires.
Just because when you put it away or you stopped using it in April of last year doesn't mean that it's okay to use now. You get birds and leaves and different things build up. With fireplaces and chimneys specifically, you get creosote buildup.
Gravel recommends that fireplaces get serviced and checked by a licensed contractor annually. Once clean, he says people should burn clean, dry wood and monitor their chimney from the outside to make sure everything is functioning properly. Corey Nordstrom, CTV News, Sault Ste. Marie.
Lakehead University men's soccer and the Thunder Bay Chill teamed up with the Student Union Food Resource Center for the inaugural Holiday Classic. While the event was free for all to come out and watch, they were asked to bring a non-perishable food item to donate. Josh Morano reports.
Inside the Lakehead University hangar, the men's soccer club faced off against the U17 Thunder Bay Chill in the inaugural Holiday Classic. The purpose of the event? To help tackle student hunger at Lakehead University. Those who wished to attend could for free, but they were asked to bring along some canned goods and other non-perishables.
We hope to turn this into a big thing. The idea is this is the first time we're doing it, and it could be an annual thing that we collaborate with Thunder Bay Chill. And we're looking at maybe working with the Confederation College down the line as well. But yeah, we're hoping to have this turn into a bigger thing.
Throughout the game, the table gradually got heavier with more items added to it as more fans gathered in. Lakehead University Student Union contributes roughly $90,000 into the food bank, and any students facing problems have access to it.
We know food insecurity is a huge issue right now, and so we thought it would be a good way to give back to the student food bank on campus here. And so we just thought we'll get together and get people to bring out the canned goods and enjoy soccer and kick the hunger.
But there's always that support that LUSU has for the students and for that sort of community within our city. So I know that there's a program that allows them to go and get food and things of that nature if they need as well. And that's something that LUSU provides for them throughout the entire school year.
Josh Morano, TBT News.
Kiiwetinoong MPP Saul Mamakwa pressed the Ford government at Queen's Park recently, saying there's a lack of transparency in decision-making from the government in regards to Métis recognition. Mamakwa asked Minister Greg Rickford when he will finally sit down to talk with the Chiefs of Ontario about the issue. Rickford responded, saying they meet every 3 months, but he agreed that the new legislation from the federal government is problematic for Métis and First Nation communities.
Speaker, can this government speak on how Ontario concluded that there is a distinct Métis community in the Abitibi Inland on First Nations territory?
The member and I can agree on is the fact that the federal government has introduced legislation that is problematic as between Métis communities and First Nations communities across this country, and that furthermore, it lacked the kinds of consultations with provincial, territorial governments, First Nations governments, and quite possibly Métis governments, Mr. Speaker. We don't have a record of those consultations. We just know that we weren't addressed with regards to it. That said, Mr. Speaker, it is not our style of this Premier or our government, Mr. Speaker, to be divisive. We understand the balance that we have to strike between the Métis communities and the First Nations communities, and we encourage the leadership of the Métis Nation of Ontario and the Chiefs of Ontario to get in the room together, Mr. Speaker, to have a discussion, look for solutions and opportunities in this important debate.
The District of Rainy River Services Board is hoping to raise awareness about homelessness in the region. They hosted an open house on November 22nd, National Housing Day, inviting the community in to see the warming center and learn more. Lee Noonan has what was there.
The Out of the Cold Warming Center in Fort Frances opened for the season on November 9th. It provides a place to sleep and stay warm overnight with kitchen, shower, and laundry facilities. Last year, 45 individuals visited the warming center a total of 810 times. The open house was a first chance for the whole community to see the space.
We had an amazing turnout, and people that I didn't really even expect to come. Like, we had seniors come that were like, tell me about this. We've heard it. We were wondering. We live down the street. And I'm like, you care and you came. And it made me feel happy. My heart was happy that people actually care.
How many people in the district are without shelter on any given night can vary significantly, but there are 56 people who've opted to put their names on the DSAB's by name list at various points in time since it was first implemented about a year ago. The voluntary list is meant to be more humanizing and provide more accurate data than traditional point-in-time homelessness counts.
So it can be used for stats and like things that people need to say, we need money for this. But on the other hand, on a personal level, what it does is it brings other service people together and they can service plan for the one person. So, okay, so who knows Tom? Have you seen Tom? You have a good relationship with Tom. Okay, so next time you see him, can you start the housing application with Tom?
Witherspoon Bedard says that with the region's long, cold winters, the warming center is one of the most important services they provide. Last winter, the center was open 165 nights, nearly half the year. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
The Friends of Chippewa Park are calling for major repairs on City Road. The group says it's in deplorable condition and causes issues for locals and tourists who visit the park. Their complaint is coming to Thunder Bay City Council on Monday. The group's asking for a 2-kilometer section of City Road to be repaired from the turnoff to the park near the Old Mill to the park itself. The Friends of Chippewa will present a petition with 1,400 signatures of people who support the organization's call. Secretary Ian Angus says the repairs are vital, considering Chippewa Park's importance to the community.
It's got a great view of the Sleeping Giant. You've got the tourist camp, you've got the amusement park, you've got the big fields, the trails. It's a great facility and it is well used. I mean, some members on council think it isn't, but we've had events there that we ran that had upwards of 2,000, 2,500 people. And they love it out there, and they're using it more and more.
Angus can't say how much the repairs will cost. He's excited for the Friends of Chippewa Park to speak to City Council, as this will be the group's first deputation since last year's municipal election. Local author Stephanie Vincent was at the Loop this afternoon to promote her very first book she wrote, illustrated and released, The Tall Moose Saves Christmas, a heartwarming adventure that follows a towering moose who helps Santa. The story was inspired by Vincent's 2 children, who offered the idea of a very tall moose. She then decided to bring the story to life with her own illustrations, since she always enjoyed making art and being creative. Vincent never envisioned herself as an author, but said every time she's read a book to her kids, she's come across books that didn't have great storylines. She joked with her husband that she could write something better and ended up finding a hidden passion.
It's super exciting, and it's been like really delightful that my kids like enjoy it so much and make me read it like 3 times before bed, which is really cute. And my friends' kids have also really liked it and send me pictures, and it's just very exciting.
If you would like to purchase The Tall Moose Saves Christmas, copies of the book can be found at the Loop, Kiki Collective, Evergreen Pharmacy, and online at Amazon.ca. We're now joined by sports anchor Joe Sadowski. Now, talking about reading a book, the script, we thought it'd write itself. The North Stars losing last time to the Walle. We thought they'd come out flying, which they did, but the battle of 2 of some of the best teams we've seen did not disappoint.
No, and while that moose is tall, the task for the North Stars is even taller. We'll have the highlights from Friday's contest and more coming up after the break.
Well, Joe, we've said this many times. When it comes to hockey locally, it's one of the best rivalries we've ever seen, and they were back for round 2 of the battle.
It seems like the Walleye, though, they've got the Stars' number in terms of the regular season. They were dominant last year, but the Thunder Bay North Stars entered the night 1 point behind the Cam River Fighting Walleye for first place in the SIJHL. Last night, it was another edition of the Highway 11-17 rivalry as the North Stars and Walleye went head-to-head at Fort William Gardens for the first of a 2-game series. After dropping their last 3 games, the Thunder Bay North Stars have some work to do if they want to get back to the top of the SIJHL. Meanwhile, the Walleye, they entered the Gardens on Friday, tied for first place with the Sioux Lookout Bombers, but have 3 games in hand. And just like last time these rivals faced off, the Stars strike first. Tyler Jordan from behind the goal line throws it in front. It takes a weird bounce and finds its way to the back of the Walleye net. Stars up 1 early. But the Fish in their league's best power play aren't going down without a fight. Liam Bell throws it in front and Riley Barodi jams it through the wickets of Ashton Sadoskis. That ties the game at 1 apiece. Later in the frame, a turnover in the Stars zone. Carter Podubny is wide open in front of Keenan Marks. The Fish take their first lead of the game and it's 2-1 heading into the second period. Just 5 minutes into the middle frame, a point shot from Liam Bell, kicked right to Nicholas Fagnilli on the doorstep, who roofs it over Keenan Marks. The Fish extend their lead to 2. But don't go anywhere, the North Stars are on the attack. Tristan Bear finds Keegan Jones in front, who shovels it past Sadoskis for his 3rd goal of the season. That cuts the Walleye lead to 1. A few minutes later, the Stars' top line causing some chaos. Easton Mikas feeds it through to Edison Weeks, but Ashton Sadoskis comes up with a huge save to keep the Walleye their 1-goal lead. In the third, the Walleye added 2 more, one from Jeremy Dunmore, who slid home the insurance marker, and Jet Matenko, who had a hat trick last time he was in the Gardens. He found the empty net to take a 5-2 lead. That would be all she wrote as the Walleye nabbed the 2 points and take the solo spot in first place, improving their record to 17-3. Meanwhile, the North Stars, they lose their 4th straight game and fall behind in the standings, but have a chance to split the weekend series Saturday night for a rematch against the Walleye. Puck drop for tonight's contest is just after 7:30 at the Gardens, and you won't want to miss it. But while the Fish are starting to separate themselves from the rest of the pack, the Lakehead Thunderwolves hockey team still sit in the middle of the OUA West. Last night, they had the chance to close the gap on the TMU Bold for the first of a weekend series. Opening frame, TMU on the attack. Kevin Gersoy with a snipe. That one goes bar south. Gersoy nabs his 8th of the season on that shot. Bold up 1-0. 20 seconds left to go in the first. Connor Bowie, he slides it past Max Wright. A last-minute goal by the Bold gives them a 2-goal cushion heading into the second. But halfway through period number 2, Olivier Pouliot, on his off wing, he goes backhand shelf upstairs. A beautiful shot from Pouliot that cuts the lead to 1. And then later in the second, it's 3-1 for TMU until Troy Williams slides it to Josh Van Unen, who deflects it past the Bold netminder. That's a 6th goal of the season. But the Bold were carried by Kevin Gersoy's hat trick that propelled TMU to their 10th win of the season, and they've got a 3-point edge in the standings over Lakehead. The Thunderwolves are back in action tonight for Game 2 of the weekend series. Now, the Thunderwolves basketball teams are also in Toronto this weekend to battle the U of T Varsity Blues. We'll start with the men's, who entered their contest losers of their last 4 games, and the T-Wolves were only dominant in the first half and only managed to put up 37 points in the second, as the Varsity Blues, they stormed back in the fourth quarter, handing Lakehead their 5th straight loss. 93-89 was the final in the men's game, but the Lady Wolves were led by Kerpa Brar, coming off the bench with 19 points and 3 clutch buckets down the stretch to help secure Lakehead's 3rd win of the season. The final there was 61-57 in Toronto. That brings their record to 3-6 on the season, and they've officially tied their win total from last season. Both the men's and ladies are back at it tonight for the second half of the weekend stint against the Varsity Blues. Now, when you think of Canadian icons, a few names come to mind right away. At least for me, you got Gord Downey of the Tragically Hip, Sidney Crosby and Wayne Gretzky, who remain at the pinnacle of hockey royalty. But Christine Sinclair and her accomplishments in soccer are second to none, and she cemented herself as one of the greatest athletes of all time. Sinclair is in the midst of her farewell tour as the Canadian women's national team are in BC ahead of her final game this Tuesday against Australia. TSN's Claire Hanna caught up with Sinclair to discuss her final game donning a Canadian jersey.
I've been on the journey for a long time, and just to be able to evolve with the game, play as a 9, play as a 4, like a winger, play as an attacking midfielder, and like be able to adapt to that. And just like, I'll never forget 2012, like our team motto was to inspire the next generation. And that's something I think, I look back, like myself, Dee, like Rian, like we're most proud of that. I mean, I remember Jesse telling me, like, I watched 2012, and that was my like aha moment. And to now be teammates, So if I'm remembered as a legend, I hope it's because of that. I hope it's like for the growth of the game.
Now back to the ice, 13 games on the NHL slate tonight, and we'll start in Dallas where the Stars hosted the struggling Tampa Bay Lightning, who entered the Lone Star State on a 3-game losing streak. Andrei Vasilevsky making his 4th start of the season. He has not been the same netminder since his return from injury, and this afternoon was no different. Less than a minute into the opening frame, Tyler Seguin bats that out of midair and beats Vasilevsky. That's Seguin's 8th goal of the year, and Dallas takes an early 1-goal lead. And then 6 minutes later, it's 2-0 Stars. Jamie Benn is sprung on the breakaway. He gets behind the defense all alone, and he slides it through the wickets of Vasilevsky, the Russian goaltender. He surrendered 3 goals on 6 shots in the first period, and head coach John Cooper absolutely livid on the Tampa bench, and the struggles would continue. 5 minutes left to go in the second period. It's 5-1 Dallas. A shot here from Jamie Benn at the top of the slot goes off the post, and Jason Robertson pots home his 2nd of the game, makes it 6-1 for the Stars. Dallas blows past Tampa, handing them their 4th straight loss. 8-1 the final in that one. Now from Texas to Winnipeg, where the Jets, who are just 3 points back of the Stars in the Central, played host to Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks this afternoon.
Giving chase, backhand pass, not a good one. Fine one from Bedard. That shot is blocked. Bedard with the drive, and he scores!
Who else? Seriously, Connor Bedard hits double digits in the goal department with his 10th of the season, leading all rookies in goals and points. The 18-year-old gets his Blackhawks on the board early. It's 1-0. Later in the opening frame, Gabe Vilardi makes a nice move, drops it off for Mark Scheifele, who rips home the one-timer to tie the game. Vilardi picks up his first career point as a member of the Jets. It's 1-1. In the second, Morgan Barron is sprung on a breakaway, and he snipes it past Soderblom for his 4th goal of the season on his birthday. He puts the Jets up by 1. Now jumping into the third period, Dylan Sandberg sends a shot from the point. That's deflected by Cole Perfetti, and that's his 9th goal of the season, giving the Jets a 1-goal lead. That would be all she wrote as the Jets snapped their 3-game losing skid with a 3-1 win against the Blackhawks. Now I want to jump to baseball a little bit. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors going around. Shohei Ohtani could potentially be a Toronto Blue Jay. What do you think of that noise?
I think it's going to happen. You know, the only market that's untapped for him is Canada.
Yeah.
It's a big selling point.
I'd love to see it.
And I know you're saying it could be today, but it really could be any second.
Any second.
Hopefully.
No, hopefully next week.
Hopefully
him
next
and Juan
week.
Soto right back in the Blue Jays uniform.
And we see him, and that would be amazing. As for weather, temperatures are looking pretty average, just above seasonal going throughout next week. We'll have details in just a second. Well, it definitely doesn't look like Christmas just yet, but there are some events tonight that we're going to talk about, but it is fairly warm. We're going to head to the region where, even though we're seeing some seasonally warm temperatures throughout the day, the nights are going to get a little bit colder. Heading out west over to Red Lake, temperatures down to -8, those clouds rolling in. That's going to be the case throughout the region tonight, with Fort Frances down to -5. A little bit cooler as we head farther east in Greenstone with plenty of cloud coverage at -9. And the same can be said in Sault Ste. Marie with temperatures down to -7. Now tomorrow, the temperatures sitting around that seasonal mark. Red Lake at -1, seeing a lot of temperatures near the freezing mark. Fort Frances also seeing plenty of clouds, and that's carrying over throughout the region to Greenstone, while Marathon and Sault Ste. Marie could see some snow, also could see some rain as that temperatures hovering around that 0 mark. Now at this hour, the temperature is sitting at 1, partly cloudy at the moment. The wind not making too much of a factor, only up from the 6 to 17 kilometers an hour from the east-southeast, while tonight, only dropping down to -2. Now, it is going to be fairly cloudy, making everything a little bit darker, but there is an event tonight that is going to light up the night sky, so I don't think the clouds are going to play too much of a factor. The wind, however, is going to pick up from the southeast, gusting all the way up to 26 kilometers an hour. Now, on Sunday, the clouds are going to be sticking around for quite some time. Temperatures, a lot of 2s on the board. Seasonal for this time is sitting at that 0 mark of not around -1. So we are seeing a little bit above seasonal temperatures throughout the weekend heading into next week. Monday also seeing plenty of cloud coverage at 2. And again, 2 on Tuesday. A bit of ice in the morning as well. Temperatures dropping down to -6 for the low. While on Wednesday, you guessed it, more clouds. You guessed it again. It's also going to be 2. Lots of 2s on the board, but on Thursday, liking to switch up things just a little bit. We could see some morning snow with temperatures just below that freezing mark in the